It's November 15th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with APEC Peru 2024. The summit takes place in the Peruvian capital of Lima for 2 days starting on Friday. President Yoon, along with leaders from 20 member countries, will be there to address key issues involving trade, investment, and digitalization. The incoming Trump administration is reportedly planning to end the electric vehicle tax incentives offered by the Biden administration. Shares of Tesla and other EV makers drop on the news of Thursday's report. The South Korean national football team beat Kuwait 3-1 on Thursday in a 2026 World Cup qualifier, placing themselves on top of Group B. And next up is a match against Palestine in Jordan next Tuesday. APEC is one of the biggest annual events for world leaders, as the 21 members of the organization make up 61% of the world's GDP and 45% of world trade volume. As President Yoon starts his engagements on Friday in Lima, he's set to be handed the APEC chairmanship as next year's host. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
The Asia-Pacific Economic Forum Summit starts on Friday in Lima, with President Yoon taking part in the world's biggest economic cooperation body meeting. On top of the usual events that APEC offers and addresses, this year's summit comes as South Korea will be the chair of next year's APEC in Gyeongju, Gyeongbuk province, and President Yoon will attend handover ceremonies as well. On Friday morning, Yoon will kick things off with an unofficial discussion with all participating leaders ahead of Session 1.
In the first session of the upcoming APEC summit, themed Empower, Include, Grow, the leaders of member economies will discuss ways to promote inclusive economic growth and support vulnerable groups. President Yoon will emphasize South Korea's commitment as next year's APEC chair to lead discussions on fostering a free and stable trade and investment environment.
Yoon will attend the APEC Business Advisory Council lunch before heading to the APEC CEO Summit, where he will deliver a keynote speech. The CEO Summit will include a handover ceremony with the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry Chair and SK Group Chair Choi Tae-won becoming the next chair.
President Yoon in his speech will present a vision for next year's APEC summit and call for active participation from Asia-Pacific business leaders in the CEO summit to be held in Gyeongju.
Yoon then will join the dinner gala hosted by the current APEC chair, Peruvian President Dina Boluarte. On the morning of the 16th, Yoon will join other members of APEC for a retreat where leaders will be able to exchange ideas in a more comfortable setting.
President Yoon will outline our government's plans to contribute to accelerating the energy transition in the era of the global climate crisis and propose ways to strengthen regional cooperation to ensure food security.
And as the retreat wraps up, President Yoon will be handed the chairmanship of APEC. President Yoon is expected to use the summit to request support from other members for South Korea's chairmanship, as well as asking them to come to Korea next year. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
While in Peru, President Yoon is also making an official visit to the country and will hold a bilateral summit with his Peruvian counterpart. Our Oh Soo-young sit down with the Peruvian ambassador to Korea to hear about the significance of Yoon's visit to Lima.
South Korea and Peru are expected to reach a special and important milestone in their bilateral ties as President Yoon makes a state visit to Lima this week to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. That's according to Peruvian Ambassador to South Korea, Paul Duclos.
Well, we have, on one side, we're complementary economies, so we can continue increasing our trade and our investment easily, and we know how to work each other. We also have this common vision on values and in principles, no? Regarding what kind of world we want to work with, no? A multilateral work, respect of international law, respect of human rights. It's very similar of the vision that you have with in your GPS global pivot state policy. No?
On the sidelines of the APEC summit, Presidents Yoon and Dina Boluarte will hold a summit, deepening bilateral relations, which marked 60 years in 2023. Having inked a free trade agreement in 2011, Korea is now Peru's fifth largest trading partner and one of its biggest investors, with growing interest in infrastructure, agriculture, mining and fisheries.
Especially when it comes to mining and building infrastructure, those two areas are something that South Korea takes a huge interest in, being a resource-poor country that is very advanced in technology. So might we see some advancements there in the field of mining for minerals and also maybe perhaps some new infrastructure projects?
Yes, for example, I can mention Dowa Corporation. It has more than 30 projects of infrastructure doing in Peru. No? I think that around 40% or 45% of their all platform in the world is done in Peru. That is one example of how interested are Korean companies to go to Peru, but they go not only for making investment, but also it's very important the transfer of technology. One of them is with Hyundai Heavy Industries, that is the most important shipyard in the world. No? So he's going to go to Peru, where they're going to create a new shipyard, but also we're going to start to co-produce different kind of ships in an association that we expect to be a long-term association for more than 30 years.
Defence cooperation is another major area of interest. Yoon and Boluarte will attend a ceremony to sign the nameplate of a vessel being built by a South Korean company at a shipyard in Peru. Peru is South Korea's only Latin American comprehensive strategic partner. Yoon's time in Lima will be even more meaningful as South Korea picks up the baton to host next year's APEC in Gyeongju City.
And as we continue to see disruptions to supply chains and all this economic uncertainty facing almost every country in the world, how do you think South Korea and Peru can really partner together, especially as APEC member countries, in order to really promote free trade and cooperation across borders?
Well, a part of what we are doing in APEC, it was really a very happy coincidence that we were going to have back-to-back presidencies. We worked together in several multilateral international fora. Particularly, it was very important the organization of Korea of the Summit for Democracy, for example, that where our president Dina Boluarte also participated. And also the idea of that is how we can contribute to strengthening democracy and to fight against all the different risks and challenges that we have. Of course, we share this view of the nuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Peru has been very vocal in condemning the essays of North Korea regarding the ballistic missiles.
Thank you so much for your time today, Ambassador.
No, thank you. I want to share with you, this is our logo, APEC logo. Mm-hmm. This is a medal that we have done here in Korea. The logo, we have this, they are the wave, the wave that unite both shores in the Asia Pacific. And there's a sun that is arising as a symbol of a bright future for the region. And it's formed by 21 rays that are the 21 economies that are part of APEC. So this is for you, just a souvenir for your visit. And also because APEC is really a very important link right now between Peru and Korea.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to you for coming here. No?
Thank you.
Now, with South Korea set to host next year's edition down in Gyeongju City in Gyeongsang-buk-do Province, what does 2024 APEC Peru mean for South Korea ahead of 2025 APEC Gyeongju? Let's turn to Professor Andrew Millard for more. Welcome, Professor Millard.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So considering Gyeongju City is the host for next year's APEC, how important is this year's event for South Korea?
So this is really a very important event for South Korea. So firstly, the main thing we should remember is that President Yoon, he will be traveling to Peru and he will accept the chairmanship for the APEC summit next year in Korea. And this is also the first time that the APEC is returning back to Korea for 20 years. So this is really significant. Now, what President Yoon needs to do while he's in Peru is he needs to learn from the Peruvians. What are the Peruvians doing in APEC this year? What initiatives are they bringing? So I know there will be the high-level meetings with the heads of state, heads of government, but there will also be ministerial meetings. There'll be conferences for academics, conferences for students. There'll be civil group meetings. So hopefully all of these initiatives, they will continue on in Korea to really expand the cooperation in the future and collaboration, but also for President Yoon, he can go and he can really promote South Korea as a global actor. So he can promote South Korea's commitment to global issues such as climate change, security, ending poverty, and so on.
Right, a lot to learn from Peru, considering it is Peru's third time hosting the event. Now, Peru is the only South American nation that South Korea has a comprehensive strategic partnership with. What kind of synergy can we expect from the two countries in terms of, cooperation and also collaboration?
So I think it's also important that first we remember that South America as a whole region is very important to South Korea. So South Korea has roughly 56 FTAs with individual countries, 9 of which are in South America. The first FTA South Korea made was with Chile back in 2004. So the region as a whole is important. But of course, Peru signed the FTA in 2011. That was then updated to the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership in 2012, which covers economy, IT, digital, medicine, environment, defense. But of all of those right now, sort of the 3 main areas would really be digitalization, which the Peruvian government really wants to expand on and which South Korea has huge expertise in. Environment, both countries really looking to expand their renewable energy sectors, and both have huge potential for both onshore and offshore wind energy. And the last one, as mentioned in your report just before, really defense industries. So South Korea recently has contracts for the shipyard, which will build 3 naval ships for Peru, and also armored vehicles they have a contract for, and also parts for the F-A-50 fighter jet.
Well, we have to talk about the sideline meetings that are about to take in Peru. The leaders of South Korea, the U.S. and Japan are holding a trilateral summit. Now, the question is, why is this meeting important, especially under the shift in the U.S. leadership? Is it especially important because there's a shift in the leadership?
So last year, as you know, there was the Camp David summit, and the leaders of South Korea, Japan, and the U.S. they made this big pledge to promote democracy and security and expand human rights, create prosperity. Now, that was a pledge between the 3 leaders. This year, it's very important for those 2 reasons. Firstly, they need to now put this into action. They need to formalize this, make some official processes, basically institutionalize this, because, as you said, we have these leadership changes. Now, currently, the leadership change in Japan, I don't think will make a huge difference. Korea-Japan relations, I think, will continue to be very good. Maybe the slight uncertainty right now would be the change of leadership in America from next year, with President-elect Donald Trump coming in. As you know, the last time Donald Trump was the president, issues between South Korea and America did exist. So that would be the uncertain area.
Well, we know for sure that a trilateral meeting between those 3 sides is on the way, but all eyes are also on a possible meetup between President Yoon and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Why is Seoul-Beijing meeting important or even necessary at this point? What do you think?
Well, firstly, China, it's a superpower, not just in Asia, not just Northeast Asia, but globally. So any chance that South Korea has the opportunity to have a bilateral meeting with President Xi Jinping is always important. However, right now, with lots of global issues, security issues, environment, global supply chain issues, trade issues, it's really very important. And China has, in the past year, actually been relatively quiet on the global stage.
Right.
Now, it's been more neutral. What President Yoon really needs to do, if there is a bilateral meeting with President Xi Jinping, he needs to reassure China that South Korea is committed to free trade and it's committed to peace and security in Northeast Asia, and that it will not try to change its policy regarding sending weapons to Ukraine or anything like that. So really, President Yoon's meeting with China could be very significant.
Definitely. All right, Professor Miller, thanks so much for sharing your insights with us this morning. You have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too.
And on the sidelines of the APEC meeting in Peru, South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held talks on Thursday, where they expressed concerns over Pyongyang and Moscow's cooperation, while saying their illegal military cooperation poses a serious threat to both Europe and the Indo-Pacific region's security. They agreed to closely monitor Russia's provision of military assistance to North Korea in exchange for troops, saying that bipartisan support for the Seoul-Washington alliance remains strong. Blinken added major accomplishments between the two countries will likely be smoothly handed over to the new administration. Also, Joe held talks with his Japanese counterpart, Yawa Takeshi, marking the first in-person meeting since the top Japanese diplomat took office last month. The two sides decided to make efforts to wisely manage pending issues between the two countries and upgrade the bilateral relationship to another level. Reports say Trump's energy policy transition team is looking to get rid of Biden's EV tax credits in the U.S., and Tesla has reportedly agreed to it. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the details.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's transition team is reportedly planning to end Biden's electric vehicle tax credit. This, according to the Reuters, which cited two sources with direct knowledge of the matter. The report says the Inflation Reduction Act, giving EV subsidies of up to $7,500 would be killed. Trump's energy policy team, led by Harold Hamm, founder of oil company Continental Resources, and Republican North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, has already met several times. Some of those meetings have taken place at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida, where Tesla CEO Elon Musk has also spent considerable time. Though ending the EV tax credit would adversely affect the already stalling U.S. transition to electric cars, Tesla, the largest EV seller in the U.S., has reportedly expressed support for the repeal. Musk said back in July that while killing the subsidy might slightly impact Tesla's sales, it would be devastating to its competitors, suggesting it would ultimately benefit Tesla in the long term. Though he did not spell out specific policies, Trump frequently criticized Biden's EV mandate and promised to end it. The energy policy transition team reportedly believes some of Biden's clean energy policies will be tough to undo, as they are popular and the money has already started to be distributed across various states, including Republican-led ones. But it views the consumer EV credit as an easy target, believing that eliminating it would get broad support in a Republican-controlled Congress as part of a larger tax reform bill. As IRA requires the vehicles to be manufactured in the U.S. and includes certain requirements for critical minerals and battery components, Korean automakers Hyundai and Kia have few vehicles that qualify for the full IRA subsidy. But sources say since they have been investing heavily in building U.S. facilities to meet those requirements, a repeal could significantly disrupt their plans. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
A UN special committee has compared Israeli policy in Gaza to genocide, while Israeli offenses continued on Thursday with an airstrike on Syria's Damascus that killed at least 15 people. Lee Seung-ja has more.
The UN Special Committee to investigate Israeli practices on Thursday released a report saying that Israel's warfare in the Gaza Strip is comparable to genocide. The report accused Israel of using starvation as a method of war, which the committee says led to mass civilian casualties and life-threatening conditions for Palestinians. It further noted that since the beginning of the conflict in Gaza, Israeli officials have publicly supported policies that prevent Palestinians from getting food, water, and fuel, the very necessities required to sustain life. The special committee's report also said that Palestinian civilians have been indiscriminately and disproportionately killed en masse in Gaza. It also noted the life-threatening conditions caused by Israel's warfare and restrictions on humanitarian aid. The report said such actions resulted in not just physical destruction of Gaza, but increased miscarriages and stillbirths. The committee, which was set up in 1968 to monitor the Israeli occupation, also said that Israel was operating an apartheid system in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. Since the conflict broke out in October 2023, over 43,000 Palestinians have been killed. Meanwhile, at least 15 people were killed in Israeli strikes on residential buildings in the Syrian capital of Damascus on Thursday. The Israeli military said the airstrikes targeted buildings and command centers belonging to the Palestinian Islamic Jihad armed group. A member of the armed group confirmed that several members were killed. The latest airstrike comes as Israel has been targeting infrastructures it believes are Hezbollah-related targets in Syria and Lebanon. 이승재, Arirang News.
The South Korean national football team beat Kuwait 3-1 on Thursday in a 2026 World Cup qualifier. South Korean forward Oh Se-hoon opened the scoring at Jaber Al-Ahmed International Stadium, Kuwait City, with a header in the 10th minute, his second goal in his just second international match. Shortly after the 19th minute, Captain Son Heung-min converted a penalty, his 50th international goal, to give South Korea a 2-0 lead. While Kuwait got on the score sheet with a goal in the 60th minute, Son's replacement Bae Jun-ho sealed the victory in the 74th minute, moving the Taeguk Warrior to the top of Group B with 13 points from 4 wins and a draw. Now South Korea will face Palestine next Tuesday in Jordan.
Good morning, I'm Kim Si-young, and this is The World Now. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is finalizing his cabinet picks, naming Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on Thursday. Now, Trump said in a statement that RFK Jr. will lead the health department to protect Americans from harmful chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, and food additives. Kennedy is a known vaccine skeptic who currently heads the Children's Health Defense, a leading U.S. anti-vaccine group who made several widely debunked claims on the harmfulness of vaccines. Now, despite these claims, Kennedy said last week that he would not take away anybody's vaccines. The 70-year-old had launched his own presidential bid, first as a Democratic candidate and then as an independent for this year's race, but suspended his campaign after a discussion with Trump to exchange his endorsement for a role in the president-elect's government. Trump has also publicly announced his decision to exclude JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, former U.S. ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley, and his ex-Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Now, a prominent UK news firm, The Guardian, has announced that it will no longer post on any of its official editorial accounts on the social media site X. In an article published Wednesday entitled "Why The Guardian is no longer posting on X," it said that the social media platform often promoted disturbing content, including far-right conspiracy theories and racism. The article also said that it considers X a toxic media platform and that its owner, billionaire Elon Musk, has been using it to shape political discourse, suggesting that the recent US presidential election campaign serves as evidence. Musk, in response, called The Guardian irrelevant and a dying publication. Now, on Thursday, Spain's fourth most read newspaper, La Vanguardia, also said it'll stop posting on X and plans to suspend its accounts. It called the platform an echo chamber for disinformation and conspiracy theories. Moving over to Brazil, where a suicide bomber killed himself outside the country's Supreme Court in Brasilia on Wednesday when he detonated an explosive after an attempt to access the court building. 2 explosions were reported, first in a parking lot near the Supreme Court and second in front of the building where the suspect's body was found. Now, Brazilian police identified the bomber as Francisco Wanderlei Luiz, a 59-year-old locksmith who formerly had a failed run as a city council candidate in the same party as ex-President Jair Bolsonaro. Authorities suspect the target was a Supreme Court justice. Now, the blast comes just 5 days before the G20 summit in Rio, raising national security concerns.
We had some severe traffic congestion yesterday evening as parents wanted to pick up their kids who spent all day doing the 수능 test. Seoul had the warmest 수능 day morning in 32 years. Well, it was a cloudy start for the capital this morning with spotty rain, but southern provinces and Jeju Island are seeing heavier rain clouds. And expect to see rain through the morning with 5 to 10 millimeters in the forecast. But Jeju Island will be rainy on and off through Saturday with up to 50 millimeters in the forecast. Now, rain will not bring down the temperatures for today. Readings will be still 10 degrees Celsius higher than season norms. The warming trend continues through tomorrow. Then there will be a major weather shift this weekend. Next Tuesday, we'll be waking up to -1 degrees Celsius here in the capital. But for today, Seoul gets up to 21 degrees, Daegu topping out at 19 degrees Celsius. Cloudy skies all day with good air quality. Please get ready for the colder season this weekend. Take out winter outfits to keep you cozy. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for our morning edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching.